Yep. Okay. If you could introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
I'm a doctor, I'm an environmentalist, I'm a scientist. More than that, I'm a father, I'm a husband. I'm somebody who cares deeply about our species, our planet, and our collective future.
Could you go into your first impression of the film when you first saw it?
I love this film, but I have two first impressions. On the negative side, it's grim, it's scary. When you see a place filling up with water, it reminds me of rising ocean levels, disappearing Arctic sea ice, melting glaciers in Greenland. That's a grim set of images, and it's frightening. It reminds us of what's happening on our planet. On the other side, though, there's a kind of a sly, delightful quality to this film. After all, it takes place in a McDonald's, not in an arboretum or a school or a nursery. And when I look at that, what I see is styrofoam cups and plastic straws and lids and obscenely excessive packaging. And then we get to the food. Greasy chips, industrially produced meat, not a sign of anything wholesome and sustainably produced to eat. So it's a reminder that as we tackle climate change, if we can submerge our consumerism, if we can transform our diets, if we can drown the tendency to use toxic chemicals and plastics and so on, we're actually aiming for a more sustainable world and a happier, healthy life for everybody. And that's the positive message that I see in this film.
What action do you think young people should be taking today for climate change?
Well, young people are doing great things about climate change now. In fact, it's the single most hope-inspiring thing I've seen in the last year or two. So one thing to do is system change. We need to change our political systems, and we need to change some of the big decisions that we make politically. How we generate energy, how we build our cities, how we produce our food. So young people need to get involved in the political system to change those things. There's also a set of personal choices that we can all make. What we eat, how we travel, how much stuff we consume, turning off the lights, recycling, lots of those environmental behaviors that we all know are good to do. Those are important, but they're not enough without the system change alongside them.
Do you think art can play a role in the environmental movement?
I think art speaks to some of the deepest parts of ourselves as human beings. Art inspires us. Art gives us different ways of looking at things. And as we tackle climate change, we need to rethink many aspects of our lives. All of us have grown up at a time in history when we had lots of energy, lots of materials. Humans are living better than we've ever lived, but we're going to need to rethink some of that, live differently. We're going to need to eat differently and travel differently and so on. Rethinking deeply held cultural patterns and beliefs is tough to do. And I think art, with all of the deep ways that it appeals to us, is essential to doing that transformation.
How do you think the public will respond to this piece?
I think people will be fascinated. It's a fascinating piece. You see both the kind of creepy rising of the water, which is what's happening in our world, and you also see a kind of a familiar, even iconic commercial place being obliterated, which speaks to us of changing some of the basic things we take for granted. So I think people will stand here for a long time. I predict people will watch this more than once. I think they'll be glued to the floor here watching it.
When you were younger, were you interested in environmental issues?
I was interested both in human health and in the environment, and those two things go together. We can't be healthy as people unless we have a healthy planet to live on. So I've always felt that we should care for our planet, not disrupt the planetary systems, respect planetary limits, and at the same time care for people. And caring for people means not just caring for the average person, but it means understanding who's most vulnerable among us and caring for the most vulnerable. We're only as good as a society as the care we provide for the most needy and most vulnerable among us.